How's it going, everybody? This is Kevin Poncelet here for Pioneer with Poncelet. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at kponcemtg, but today I'm here with you at TCGplayer.com, and we're going to be playing some 4-color humans in the new format, the new hotness, what everybody's clamoring about, what all the new tournaments are going to be, because Standard's kind of stale, Modern's kind of filled with Urza right now. It's called Pioneer. It's a brand new non-rotating format where you can play everything from Return to Ravnica forward, and the only banned cards currently are the fetch lands. I think this creates a lot of cool design space for deck building. I think this is a cool design space in general for a non-rotating format. We've got a lot of cool cards in the format that just haven't really been touched since they were in Standard. There's a lot of cards that never got touched in Standard that might see play now in this new non-rotating format where they have interactions that are more relevant than they've ever been. It's an interesting format where a lot of cards that are currently banned in Modern, banned in Legacy, are legal in Pioneer. We're not playing any of those cards that are banned in any other format at the moment, although some of these cards in our deck were banned in Standard, namely Reflector Mage and Smuggler's Copter. So we're playing the full boat of both of those banned in Standard cards. Very powerful, very good cards. The Smuggler's Copters might seem a little off at first glance here because we're playing a humans deck with Collected Company at the top end, and Collected Company is a really powerful card. It can get you 2 creatures for 1 card, sometimes 2 3-mana creatures for 1 card, which is really powerful, but it can't hit Smuggler's Copter. The thing about Smuggler's Copter, though, is it's just a really good, aggressive Merfolk Looter effect that turns all of your creatures into haste 3/3 flyers. So we've got our haste 3/3 flyers in the deck, but now even our Reflector Mages are haste 3/3 flyers. Even our Thalia's Lieutenants are haste 3/3 flyers. If we have a Benelish Marshal in play, we get a haste 4/4 flyer. So pretty powerful card. Then in our sideboard, we've got 3 Rest in Peace to deal with those pesky Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, Arclight Phoenix type decks. Soul Flayer decks are very popular at the moment as well. A lot of decks that are abusing the graveyard to some extent, and Rest in Peace does a lot of work there. Then we've got some decks that are trying to Supreme Verdict us and Anger of the Gods us and things like that. So Selfless Spirit is going to come in against those. Anytime that we're on the draw, we're going to be bringing in Knight of the White Orchid. This is a 2-mana 2/2 first strike. Not great on rate. It's like fine, like you'd play it in your limited deck. I don't know how much this would be in, like a playable card in your constructed deck if that's all it did, but every single land in our deck makes white, which is really important when we're playing Benelish Marshal. And in order for us to get the extra land off Knight of the White Orchid, we have to be on the draw, basically. So on turn 3 is generally when you're going to want to play it. On turn 2, maybe play a Smuggler's Copter, and your opponent plays their 3rd land, plays a spell. Maybe it's an Oko. I don't know. We're playing Pioneer. Okos everywhere. So they play an Oko. We play our Knight of the White Orchid before playing a land for turn. Go and get any color plains. So we can get a green plains, Temple Garden. We can get a blue plains, Hallowed Fountain. We can get a red plains, Sacred Foundry, and fix our mana that way. If we needed to cast Mantis Rider or any other card in our deck, like a Dromoka's Command, we can go get the green. Or we can just get a basic plains if we don't want to take the damage. And then we can play our land for turn and also cast a Dromoka's Command, a Thalia's Lieutenant, a Charming Prince, or like a Thraben Inspector and an Experiment one. We have 4 mana on turn 3. Really powerful card on the draw. Pithing Needle is very good in the format right now. It hits Saheeli, hits Teferi, hits Oko, hits Aetherworks Marvel, hits most of the, I mean, all the Planeswalkers, and a lot of decks are playing some sort of Planeswalker and or Walking Ballista or something else that you might want to name with Pithing Needle. Deputy of Detention, we're playing 1 in the main deck, 2 in the sideboard. It's a really good creature. This creature can definitely clean up a board state, can get problematic permanents off the board for you, can wipe all the tokens. So just a really powerful effect. I'm sure you're used to this card if you played any standard lately, especially during the Field of the Dead times. Everybody needed to play like 4 of these in their main deck. But then we've got 2 Knight of Autumn, another very versatile creature that we can cast pretty easily. We have a lot of green and white sources in our deck. It's not a human, neither is Deputy, but still not that hard to cast. Another thing to note about Deputy of Detention is it is a wizard. So you can name Wizard, and you can also cast your Reflector Mage fixed for blue and Deputy of Detention fixed for blue with a unclaimed territory on Wizard. And then to finalize our sideboard here, we've got 2 Dromoka's Commands, which I've been really impressed with this card. I even moved one into the main deck because of how much respect I have for this 2-for-1. It's often a 2-for-1. Say your opponent plays a Thassa, the legendary god enchantment in their mono blue deck. You can make them sacrifice that indestructible enchantment and also fight their Siren Storm Tamer with your Charming Prince with Dromoka's Command for 2 mana on their turn even. Really powerful effect. Also, the most common use for it is put a +1/+1 counter on your creature, it fights another creature. Very good against the Felidar combo, Copycat, whatever you want to call it. If you have a 3-power creature in play, which we can easily get there with Experiment 1 or Thalia's Lieutenant or Benelish Marshal, then like pretty much all of our creatures are 3-power. You Dromoka's Command, put a +1/+1 counter on your creature and make it eat the cat, and we don't have to worry about the cat. So yeah, it also works very well against the other creature decks, and against Burn, it's very good. So one of the modes on Dromoka's Command is prevent all damage that target instant or sorcery spell would deal this turn. So they cast Anger of the Gods. Nope. Also, let me put a +1/+1 counter on my dude. They cast Wild Slash, they cast Searing Blood, whatever it is. Dromoka's Command is very powerful there too. But you do have to watch out against Soulscar Mage. When you're trying to use Dromoka's Command to fight one of their creatures and they have a Soulscar Mage in play, your creature will get those -1/-1 counters because it's non-combat damage. And yeah, so just watch out for that. But this is the deck. We're on 4-color humans. 4-color mono white humans is what I've been calling it because we've got Benelish Marshal and Mantis Rider and green 1-drops and Collected Company. But yeah, let's jump into a league and see how it goes. All right. Hello and welcome to round 1 with 4-color humans here on Pioneer with Poncelet. We've got a turn 1 Thraben Inspector, turn 2 Crack a Clue, turn 3 Reflector Mage, turn 4 Reflector Mage. It's not an amazing hand, but we're on the draw here and we have all our colors. We do have to pay a little bit of life for our mana, but it's not too bad, and we're going to keep it. It's a slightly mana-heavy hand, but we're going to be able to cast Collected Company when we draw it. We're going to be able to cast everything in our deck when we draw it, and that is pretty important. And also we have a 1, 2, and a 3 play. So we're curving out, even though the curve out is a slightly less aggressive one than we're hoping. The 5th land is certainly not ideal here, but we're gonna just name human with this unclaimed territory. Oops. So as not to pay any life for our Thraben Inspector right away. They're on Steam Vents, so I would assume that this is an Arclight Phoenix deck just based on their turn 1. Arclight Phoenix does occasionally cast Opt on turn 1 or like hold up Wild Slash, but yeah, Thing in the Ice. Okay. Well, this is what we thought they were doing. So we do play Dromoka's Command in our deck. So I'm going to lead with Temple Garden. And I'm going to attack with the Thraben Inspector. And they're not going to block. So this is something where, like, when people don't know the cards that are in the format and don't know the decks that are in the format, our opponent wasn't sure if we were going to be able to pump our Thraben Inspector there. to be able to kill their thing in the ice. So they didn't block. That we just got in a free point of damage. When you're gonna attack, or when your opponent is pretty incentivized to keep their creature, you should just make some attacks. That's a free point of damage we just got in, just because we hit the attack button, and our opponent was scared. They're gonna lightning axe our Thraben Inspector. Whoa, that's bold. Oh, because they're getting Arclight Phoenix into play. All right, that's pretty strong. Turn 3 Arclight Phoenix. It's like we're playing Modern. All right, so we're gonna crack this clue. We're gonna have to bounce that thing in the ice. Ooh, ooh. Okay. Well, wow. Oh, huh. That's tough. Every one of our draw steps this game has been a land. We've drawn 4 cards this game. That's really tough. This is gonna be a tough game if this keeps up. But that's all right. We got unclaimed territory on human. We've got white. We've got blue. We've got colorless. We're gonna bounce that thing in the ice, and we're gonna try to come back here from our handful of lands. Some unfortunate draws this game. No attacks with their Phoenix. That's good for us. We're gonna play this experiment one, and we're gonna play this Hallowed Fountain untapped, so that we can cast this guy. And I think we want to bounce their Phoenix. I mean, they could just discard the Phoenix to the Jace. Yeah, actually, I'm going to bounce their Jace before they get any looting effects off the Jace. And I'm not sure that we don't want to just attack into the Phoenix here. I mean, if that was the case, we probably should have done it pre like casting all our spells. But yeah, this is why you should probably decide everything you're going to do in your turn before you start doing things. I knew I was going to cast these 2 cards, so I just kind of went ahead and did it. But I didn't really fully flesh out whether or not I wanted to attack. I wanted to attack into the Arclight Phoenix. They're likely to cast 3 spells, but yeah, I don't think we attack. It's a tough spot because we're just all lands right now. We finally drew a non-land in that experiment one, but we need to basically hit like Collected Company or like more Reflector Mages here. Alright, Mantis Rider's good. Mantis Rider's good. I don't know if we're attacking with it. I think we have to now though. So now I really regret not attacking with Reflector Mage last turn, but yeah, mostly because it's just going to trade. Now the Phoenix gets to trade with our Mantis Rider, which is way better for them. Yeah, I'm going to play the Sacred Foundry tapped. White, red, blue for Mantis Rider. Evolved Experiment 1. And we're just going to swing out here. Oops. They're definitely going to trade with Mantis Rider on the Arclight Phoenix. I can't imagine they do anything different than that, and they're just going to take 4. So basically we need to hit another Reflector Mage or Dromoka's Command or Collected Company into a Reflector Mage next turn. But we're likely going to get our board bounced here and take 10. So, I mean, as bad as our draws have been, we have mostly tapped out each turn. So, not that bad. That Mantis Rider was a good top deck, but because we top decked the Mantis Rider, maybe we were supposed to just plan on top decking something good the following turn and being able to, oops, oh shoot. I was on F6 there, but we may want to regenerate our experiment 1 here. Yeah. And we will do that. That was a close one. We didn't find a way to bounce the thing in the ice. So things are very bad here. We're going to play our Sacred Foundry, swing out. And yeah, there's no real point in playing the experiment 1. I think we just hold up the facade of Collected Company. So that's 1 non-creature spell. I mean, 1 is it instant or sorcery spell. Here comes a treasure cruise, it looks like. And there's another phoenix in their yard. And that's game. Okay. So we got killed on turn 7. Not exactly like a really fast draw from our opponent, but certainly did enough. So we want the Dromoka's commands to interact with Thing in the Ice. Deputy of Detention also interacts with Thing in the Ice pretty favorably, but they usually are going to be able to kill it with Fiery Temper or Lightning Axe and get their card back. But, I mean, it flips it back down, which is kind of nice. We're going to be on the play here, so we definitely want these Rest in Pieces, not because we're on the play, but because they're a Treasure Cruise deck with Arclight Phoenix. So Rest in Peace is one of our best cards in the matchup. Also good against Jace Vryn's Prodigy. It's like kind of just great against their deck, especially when we can cast it on turn 2. So what I don't really like in this matchup is Thraben Inspector. I think Thraben Inspector is kind of slow. We boarded in 2 Dromoka's commands and 3 Rest in Peace. I think we can trim a couple Benelish Marshals as well, even though they are pretty good at making our Mantis Riders into 4/4s, which is really important against the Arclight Phoenixes. Also makes our Smuggler's Copters 4/4s, which is also really important against the Arclight Phoenixes. But we're on the play here, so we want to like cut down on our top end a little bit, and I think bring in another Deputy just to make sure we don't get got by like triple Arclight Phoenix or something, or just like some unreasonable draw from our opponent. It just lets us catch back up. So now, as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that, you know, we're on the play here, and it might be better just to like tempo them out with Dromoka's Command and Reflector Mage and not really rely on Deputy, and maybe just go full aggression here other than taking out the Thraben Inspectors. I do think we want to close the game out as fast as possible, so I'm actually not going to play any Deputies in game 2. We want to either draw Rest in Peace or just kill them real fast with some interaction between Dromoka's Command and Reflector Mage, which are more like tempo positive interaction spells. Deputy of Detention is only going to ever attack for 1 or maybe 2 if we have a Benelish Marshal in play. So it's not a very good tempo play. It's just kind of a good mid-rangey controlling play. Whereas Reflector Mage gets big with our Lieutenant and our Marshal. It's easier to cast. Yeah. But we're going to keep this hand. It doesn't have a 1-drop, but it's very good otherwise. We're going to lead with a tapped Sacred Foundry. Well, shoot. Now that I look back at this hand, we don't actually have a blue source for Reflector Mage. But, yeah, we're going to lead with Sacred Foundry nonetheless. If we don't find a blue source for Reflector Mage, we're in some trouble, though. I kind of just glanced at the hand very quickly, and with all our gold lands and shock lands, I get a little confused sometimes, and this may have not been a keep, but we'll see. Oh, man. Well, Reflector Mage is not doing a ton right here. This could be bad. Pretty big punt on my part, not realizing we didn't have a blue source. Oh no. Yeah, so we are playing a 4-color deck, and occasionally we don't have the right lands and need to mulligan, but I didn't recognize that this game. Pretty embarrassing here. There's our blue source. We have to take the odds-on play here, which is just... It's just to cast the Reflector Mage right now. We can't really mess around with trying to hit something on Coco, even though it's a more mana efficient play. But we are behind on tempo here by a turn. Temple Garden, don't want that. I mean, having a 5th land wouldn't be terrible, but certainly don't want that one right now. More than any of our other 4 cards. Oh, Sailboat Island, that's kind of cool. Our opponent looks like they're not doing anything. Abrade the Smuggler's Captor, okay. So we will go ahead and collect a company here. Hopefully no Dispel. Allies Lieutenant and Charming Prince, happy with those. So Prince is going to scry here, since we kind of just don't really need anything as far as blinking. I mean, we could have blinked Dahlia's Lieutenant to put extra counters on our Prince and our Reflector Mage, which could be sort of useful, but once they get out of... Alright, so if we take the Sacred Foundry, we can cast Reflector Mage and Dromoka's Command next turn. So I think we do want the Sacred Foundry. I don't think we want the Smuggler's Copter at this point. And they're going to Rending Volley our Reflector Mage. Okay. Makes sense. Spell can't be countered, but it can be prevented. The damage can be prevented with Dromoka's Command. So Thing in the Ice comes back. Wild Slash on the Thalia's Lieutenant. Alright. They're doing a good job of keeping us at bay here. So the play we're going to make here is definitely untap Sacred Foundry, Reflector Mage, attack for 3, hold up Dromoka's Command. And our hand's fantastic, so even though we had a slightly embarrassing keep there, we did find that blue source just in time. Two Phoenixes go in the yard. Can you get them back out? It looks like they can. No, they can't. Unclaimed territory, name human. Gonna collect a company here. It was nice that we drew our 6th land because we're able to Coco and hold up Dromoka's Command, and attack for way more than 8 here. So this should be game with the Dromoka's Command. Obviously a very good hit on our Coco, a Mantis Rider, and a Banalish Marshal. Alright, we're going to game 3. Our hand started out slow. We actually didn't get on the board really until turn 4, which was awkward, but our opponent missed their land drops, and we were able to tempo them out with a couple of good collected companies. So now we're on the draw. We definitely want Knight of the White Orchid. I think we actually want to trim a couple copters on the draw. They're also bringing in a braid, and it's not like a braid all of a sudden doesn't do anything against us, but on the draw, copter is certainly worse. Also on the draw, it might be correct to bring in all the deputies, so we definitely have ways to interact with our opponent's thing in the ice. Yeah, maybe we forgo the smuggler's copters on the draw here. I think I'm going to try that. Pithing Needle on Jace isn't the worst thing in the world, but I'd much rather just bring in Rest in Peace here. And we're in for game 3. We have double Rest in Peace. And we can't cast any other cards in our hand, but we're going to keep it because of how good Rest in Peace is. And we're on the draw. Hopefully we can find a blue source in the first few draw steps. And hopefully they don't have a counter spell for our Rest in Peace. That is not a blue source. That's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, we're just going to play this tapped. But, I mean, a third land isn't the worst. We just really need a blue source once again. Blue source. All right, we got there. I'm just going to run this Rest in Peace out. We have a second one in case they have the Is It Charm right now. They might have the Is It Charm. No, they don't. Okay. Well, then, I'm feeling pretty good here. They just probably have a handful of removal, which, I mean, obviously is also pretty good. We found another blue source. This Mantis Rider is as dead as can be, but it doesn't mean we're not going to cast it. Oops. I missed the color I was supposed to tap for there. Alright. Yeah, this is the deadest Mantis Rider I've ever seen. Yeah. But, yeah, we just want to draw, like, collected companies now. Charming Princess to scry us into collected companies. Thalia's Lieutenant is a playable card here. We'll just play it. Get a Temple Garden in tapped. They're unlikely to have any way to interact with Rest in Peace once it's in play. So I'm just going to not cast the other one and not pay 2 more life. I don't think it's worth it. Their best card now would be Thing in the Ice. Like, Arclight Phoenix is fine. It's going to deal us 3 damage. Then we're going to Reflector Mage it. But we need to start clocking them, which means we need to start drawing collected companies or more Mantis Riders or that type of thing. They have 6 cards in hand. Their deck is like mostly removal, so it's likely that we're in a bad spot here. Or not in a bad spot, but that we need to like eventually draw some aggression, some way to get our opponent down to 0 here. Lieutenant's good. That's a fine one. Obviously, you want more humans in play before you cast the Lieutenant, but we can't quite do that here. Oh, all right. That's surprising. They probably have a lot of Arclight Phoenixes in their hand. We are going to cast the second Rest in Peace now just to put it into play. There's no like Echoing Truth in this format, so I'm fine to do that. We also have card draw effects with Thraben Inspector. Oh no, we boarded out our Thraben Inspectors, so actually not a huge reason to play the Mana Confluence there. I forgot we boarded those out. We don't actually have any card draw effects. We just have we boarded out all our Smuggler's Copters and all our Thraben Inspectors. So, alright, three more damage. We're just gonna go ahead and Deputy that Arclight. They're probably gonna get it back with a removal spell, but then we can get both Arclights the next time. Still, like I said, we're digging for, or we're just hoping to find a Collected Company here, or some sort of power card like a Mantis Rider maybe. Yeah. I have 5 cards in hand. I feel like we're actually pretty far behind. The multiple Rest in Pieces is not exactly what we want here. Charted Course, discarding. Oh, they didn't have to discard because they attacked. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, Marshal's pretty good. Gonna Marshal here. Oof, going to 6 though. Oof. I think they're pretty likely to have another Arclight in hand. And probably more removal. They just drew 2 cards. They are going to fry our Reflector Mage. So Marshal's going to come into play. We're going to then Deputy their Arclight Phoenix. We're going to 6 to do that though. And they have 4 cards. Hopefully those cards are like all Treasure Cruises, but it's pretty unlikely. Lightning Axe, yeah, discarding an Opt, putting us to 3. No, we're just dead. Unfortunate. 2 Rest in Pieces was too many. We needed like 1 Collected Company that game to take the game over, and we just didn't find one. Yeah. Our hand was good, just double Rest in Peace was too many. Like, it's very good against them, but you only really want to draw 1, and then we kind of flooded out. But it's a good deck. The Arclight Phoenix deck, it just plays nothing but removal post board also, because everybody has to play all the Rending Volleys and Fries to deal with the Copycat decks. So it's just kind of splash damage on all our creatures, because that kills almost every single one of our creatures as well, except for the experiment ones. All our creatures are white, so yeah. Alright, hello and welcome to round 2 with our 4-color humans deck. This is not a great hand. We are on the draw, and it's very likely that we'll hit a creature to crew this Copter. But Mantis Rider and Copter don't play very well together. I mean, it's not that they don't. They're both 3-power flyers, which is very good when you're trying to like pressure an Oko, pressure a Saheeli, a Teferi, whatever. But when they're the only 2 spells in your hand, they don't play very, very well together. And we're going to mulligan this looking for something with a 1-drop, something with a 2-drop that's not a Smuggler's Copter to go with our Mantis Rider. Cool, yeah, this has a 1-drop and a Smuggler's Copter and a 3-drop and a Coco. So we're definitely going to keep this. I like having interaction when we're on the draw. So the Deputy is like pretty good, but it's our weakest card in this hand. Like, we have a pretty aggressive draw other than this Deputy. So I'm going to bottom Deputy, and we're on the draw. So we're actually, with the Smuggler's Copter, pretty likely to hit 4 on turn 4. And yeah, I'm going to drop Deputy of Detention. It's a very powerful effect, but it's not going along with the rest of our game plan that we have going on in our other cards. Alright, so our opponent goes Island Go. Third land is good. We're going to lead Temple Garden untapped. Experiment 1. Have at you. Island. So this looks like a mono blue deck with like Merfolk Trickster, Thassa, whatever her name is, Siren Storm Tamer on turn 2. Interesting. So I'm gonna lead here with Hollowed Fountain, untapped, Smuggler's Copter, taking at least 6 damage from our lands. Well, 7 is very painful. With all these shocks and mana confluences, this mana base is painful. But yeah, we're just gonna pass the turn here. Like if they try to Curious Obsession their creature, we can block it with Smuggler's Copter. They're gonna Petty Theft the Smuggler's Copter. Alright. Pretty strong. And then Curious Obsession. Well, plan foiled, huh? Plan very foiled. Mantis Rider. Well, we're gonna change our plans here then and play Mantis Rider. Paying more life. But we are gonna evolve our Experiment 1 into a 2/2 and attack for 5 here. And then next turn our Mantis Rider is gonna be a 4/4 with the Thalia's Lieutenant, because we're probably going to Lieutenant and Smuggler's Copter, but we'll see. We may want to just Coco. The fact that we've already taken 5 damage from our lands is not helping things here, and we're going to take 2 more next turn, depending on whether we draw an untapped source that isn't painful next turn or not. Actually, I guess all of the lands in our deck with a Plains/Forest in our hand are untapped sources. But yeah, most of them are not most of them, but 10 of them are shock lands, and 4 of them are pain lands in Mana Confluence. But we do have 2 plains, 4 unclaimed territories, 2 fortified villages that are not. Tempest Djinn. That's a big boy. Oh, Curious Obsession dies. Nice. That's a good turn for us. Mantis Rider did some work there. So having a red source that isn't Mana Confluence could be nice here. So I'd rather play that. It's just a question of whether we want to try and Coco, which could potentially be playing into a Spell Pierce here, or we could just play the Thalia's Lieutenant, attack with the Mantis Rider, and play the Smuggler's Copter. I assume they're going to trade with Mantis Rider with the Djinn. They know we have the Smuggler's Copter in hand still. We're going to pay 3 life for our lands this turn regardless, putting us to 10. I believe we're going to go with the odds-on play here, which is just to play the Thalia's Lieutenant and attack with the Mantis Rider. It does trade with the Djinn. I mean, we don't have to attack with the Mantis Rider since we are going to 10 to cast the Smuggler's Copter. So the reason to not attack here would be that they might not have an island to pump their Djinn into a 5 power creature, and then we might draw another Lord off the Collected Company or for turn or off the Smuggler's Copter. So we have a lot of ways we could draw another Lord creature. Thalia's Lieutenant, I'm counting it as a Lord. It's technically not a Lord in the typical sense of like all creatures of that type gets +1/+1, and Benelish Marshal is just all your other creatures get +1/+1. So that one sort of is just a Lord, but yeah, we have 7 more Lords in the deck. This is an interesting turn. I think I'm just gonna attack with the Mantis Rider. Yep. I think we have more velocity than our opponent with the Coco in hand and with the redraws off the Copter. So hopefully that proves to be true. Like trying to play the longer game might be correct as well. Cloudfin Raptor and nothing. They're probably just casting Brazen Borrower here to trade with Smuggler's Copter, but they could have plenty of other spells they're looking to play. Yeah, I'm just going to main phase this Collected Company. They might be playing Quench. I'm not sure if that's a card that people are playing in their blue decks right now. Oh, wow. Ouch. This is very unlikely statistically. We have 29 creatures in our deck. So this is very, very unlikely, but we whiffed. Ouch. Yeah, I suppose we're gonna attack with both creatures here. Yeah, I assumed they were going to try and trade with Brazen Borrower, which it's very good at trading with the Smuggler's Copter and bouncing it earlier. Brazen Borrower is a powerful card. Yeah, I'm going to drop this Mana Confluence. But yeah, just a full-on whiff with the Collected Company means we're very far behind here. Yeah, this is not a good spot for us. Full-on whiff. That is very rare. That's only happened to me twice, and I've been playing with Collected Company and 30 creatures-ish in our deck for quite a long time now. Or, I mean, not quite a long time, but I mean, over the course of the years playing with Collected Company, and just in this past week of Pioneer, it's only happened once in this past week. I'm sure it's happened to me other times in Standard and in Modern, but yeah, a full whiff with Coco is rough. We're going to need to draw really well here. Wow. Oh, buddy. So we can bounce their Cloudfin Raptor and then play Thalia's Lieutenant. And that's what we're going to do, but we're in a very bad spot. That's a lot of elementals. And they're just going to swing, huh? Going to 2. That's not going to do it. All right. Well, that was rough. The whiff on the Coco. When you pay 4 mana and do literally nothing, it's pretty easy for your opponent to win the game, it turns out. We just discarded a card for 4 mana. We just discarded a card. But, that is the part of Collected Company that is rough. It is a card that, even with 29 creatures in your deck, you can whiff. We hit 4 lands, Dromoka's Command, and Smuggler's Copter, and just hit nothing. This Dromoka's Command used to be a main deck Kythian, but even if we did just hit a Kythian there, we're not really winning that game. Kythian was underwhelming, so I took him out, but it is really nice to have a 1-drop when you're in an aggressive humans deck. So we're playing against Mono Blue Devotion. I want all the deputies because we need to be able to deal with their threats, and I want all the Dromoka's commands because Dromoka's command can kill Thassa, Guardian of Waves, or whatever her name is, God of the Waves, I don't know, the Poseidon character from Theros. Pithing Needle does not do much here. Selfless Spirit doesn't have a good stat line. No. They do play Smuggler's Copter in most of the lists, so I think Knight of Autumn is fine, but I'm gonna leave it in the sideboard, and I think what we're gonna do is just cut the Thraben Inspectors and run it like this. We're just gonna bring in all our interaction and take out our slow grindy card in Thraben Inspector. Alright, we have no green source for the Dromoka's Command, but we have a lot of scry, so we're just going to keep it. It's not a very powerful hand, but it's a consistent hand with all the scry we're going to get. And we have 3 of our 4 colors. We just need to find a green source with this first scry on Charming Prince. And then we do have a pretty aggressive card in Benelish Marshal, so we should be able to pressure them a bit there. Alright, again, we really need that green source for the Coco 2 now. Let's get a little scry. No green source, so we're going to bottom both of those. No land even. I would have taken any land there probably, but neither of those were land or green source. So, come on deck. We need a green source. That's not a green source. All right. Let's get a little scry going again. We didn't need to do this pre-combat. We could have moved to attacks first. All right, we don't want that Benelish Marshal, but we definitely want that Temple Garden. We found the green source. It took 4 scry, but we got there. Yeah, they might have a Merfolk Trickster for our other Charming Prince and try to tempo us out here. No, they had nothing to play there. Alright, that's good that they just passed their turn on turn 2 without doing anything. Tempest Djinn. Nothing. Interesting. So I think right here I'm going to pay 2 life for the Temple Garden for sure. And I think we're just going to attack first with both of these. See how this plays out. Nothing from our opponent. So we're just going to play an Experiment 1 and then play another Charming Prince and try and scry for another land. Just a bunch of grizzly bears, really. Grizzly bear tribal over here. Unsummon. Alright. I like Unsummon. Reflector Mage and Temple Garden. Alright, so I want to top that because we can hit it with the Collected Company and top that, because that allows us to cast Collected Company. So we're in a good spot here. We're going to be able to Collected Company into a Reflector Mage minimum. So we know we're not going to whiff with this Collected Company, and it's going to be very good on this board right now. Although they can sack their Siren Storm Tamer to stop the Reflector Mage from bouncing the Tempest Djinn. Yeah, that Storm Tamer is actually pretty good for them here. I think I'd still like to Collected Company though. We might hit 2 Reflector Mages, or like a Reflector Mage and a Deputy. We did hit 2 Reflector Mages. Another thing we can do is Thalia's Lieutenant and Mantis Rider and just swing out, which is also pretty strong. But double Reflector Mage definitely gets the Tempest Djinn back in their hand and they can't recast it. And that's their only thing that really blocks well on this board. But Thalia's Lieutenant, Mantis Rider gives us a 4/4 that's attacking right now, plus 3 3/3s are attacking right now. So they block one of the 3/3s, they take 6 down to 8 if they don't want to trade with the Mantis Rider. I'm not sure actually if that's worse than the two Reflector Mages, since our next turn is going to be Benelish Marshal and Experiment 1, which is going to level up our Thalia's Lieutenant quite a bit. Yeah, I think I just want to be aggressive here. I know this, we wanted to hit 2 Reflector Mages and then decided not to use them. But unless they have another Unsummon, this is probably going to be a pretty good turn. Oops, they do have another Unsummon. Oof. Alright. Alright. 2 Unsummons. That's pretty strong. They're going to 8 though. And then our next turn is very strong as well. Five mana. They know we have a Mantis Rider. They know we have an Experiment 1. And that's like the minimum of what we're going to do next turn. So they know we're going to have at least a 4/4 Thalia's Lieutenant. Swinging with both. That's bold. Wow. So if they have a Harbinger of Tides, they'll bounce something, block something. Which means we can't stop them here. I would assume they have at least Harbinger of Tides, but maybe they have a third Unsummon and a Harbinger of Tides, which we can't beat. The Siren Storm Tamer makes the Dromoka's Command not worth it. So we're just going to have to play the Mantis Rider, and at worst, we at least have a blocker for their Tempest Djinn next turn. What? How did I mess this up every time? Alright, tap for white. There we go. Mystical Dispute. Oof. Owie. Do they also have the Harbinger? Or just a Brazen Borrower? Yeah. Woof. Alright. This league didn't start out too well. Yeah, they just out-tempoed us there. We had a very explosive hand, but they had just enough Unsummons and Harbinger of Tides and Mystical Disputes to slow us down and win the game. Hello, and welcome to round 3. We are 0-2 right now. But we're going to keep this hand, and I think we're going to put back this Mana Confluence. Collected Company is just such a powerful card that I really want to have both of them. And we have a redraw with Raven Inspector and Scries with Charming Prince to get us to 4 lands on turn 4. So I think I'm just going to put back the Confluence. But I certainly wouldn't have faulted anybody for putting back a Collected Company. It's a safer line. It's just put back the Collected Company. But there we go. That's the 3rd land anyway. Let's name Human. Something to note, though, is that we now can't cast like Mantis Rider with these 3 lands because we drew 2 Temple Gardens. So that is a serious downside to bottoming the Mana Confluence. I bottomed Mana Confluence because if we're playing against a red deck, it's our worst land. But against everybody else, it's definitely better than Temple Garden. Stitcher, Supplier, Hope of Giripur. Witch's Oven. Alright. Our opponent's got some sort of a combo deck going here. Oops. They missed their land drop. Alright. And we did hit 4 on time here. I believe we're going to attack with Raven Inspector. They may just want to fill up their graveyard and they want to get this Stitcher Supplier dead, but no blocks. Okay. They're going to save it because they're hurting a bit there. I'm going to scry. I kind of want to hit a good card on turn 3 here. And another Collected Company and a Fortified Village. Certainly don't want the Fortified Village, but I'll take a third Collected Company. So next turn, all we're going to do is draw a card. But then we're just going to cast Collected Companies for the rest of the game until our opponent is dead, hopefully. It's not often you get to resolve 3 Collected Companies in one game. And this might, again, not be one of those cases, but we certainly have the option of doing so if the game goes long. Another Stitcher Supplier. Metalwork Colossus. Whoa. I'm interested in our opponent's deck list. This looks kind of cool. If they want to trade both Stitcher Suppliers for Charming Prince, I'm okay with that. Sanctum of Ugin. I guess that works pretty well with Metalwork Colossus, huh? Kind of a cool combo there. They're playing, looks like 4 Sanctum of Ugins. I guess they're not legendary lands, so I guess you might as well. Smuggler's Copter, you got it. Mantis Rider. The card that we actually can't cast. It's the one card in our deck we can't cast at the moment. No need to take extra damage here. We're just going to main phase this Collected Company. Kind of wish the Mantis Rider was still on top of our deck here. Alright, Benelish Marshal and Deputy seems pretty good. Deputy's going to take the Copter. We're going to get in there. And they're just going to scoop. Our opponent missed their second land drop for a couple turns there, so it wasn't quite fair play. But yeah, I think we want Deputy of Detention for their early interaction stuff. We obviously want 3 Rest in Pieces. Knight of Autumn is going to be able to kill Smuggler's Copter, Metalwork Colossus, all the things. Knight of Autumn seems really good. Jamoka's Command seems a little bit worse. Thraben Inspector doesn't seem awesome in this matchup, and neither does Benelish Marshal. I just don't think we need the aggression. But maybe Smuggler's Copter is... Yeah, maybe Smuggler's Copter is pretty good. They're playing their own Smuggler's Copters. They're... Wait. So we have a lot of 2s. Maybe we actually want to play like 2 Copter and like 2 Marshal to make our curve a little bit nicer. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. And also get 29 creatures back in there so we have more hits with Coco. It's good to keep the creature count up as high as you can. And Copter certainly doesn't do that. Alright, so here we've got no play until turn 3, but then a bunch of collected companies and interactive spells. So we're going to keep this hand. We can cast every card in our deck for the most part with the Mana Confluence and the 2 unclaims. We might have to name Wizard with one of the unclaimed territories here. Opponent starting with a Drone Catacombs tapped. Another unclaimed territory. So first one's going to name Human, because we're always going to want at least one on Human. But we're probably going to go Human, and then Wizard. Venture Deeper. Phyrexian Revoker. Interesting. Did we show them any reason to bring in Phyrexian Revoker? I don't think we did. That's interesting that they brought in Revoker. But I guess they just assume we're playing Smuggler's Copter. Plains is good. We might as well play the Plains. Pass the turn. Merfolk Secret Keeper is actually pretty good against us because it has a 4 butt. And we're going to name Human again with this one. Bounce that Emery. Pass the turn. And then hopefully just resolve some good Cocos going forward here. Gonna name Wizard with the next unclaimed territory though. Another Secret Keeper hitting Herald of Anguish. Cauldron of Eternity. Cauldron of Eternity. Two Cauldron of Eternities. Interesting stuff. Gonna name Wizard with this one. Merfolk Wizard, hey. Oh, wow. I forgot that we didn't have a green source for our collected company. So it looks like we're going to lead with Experiment 1. That's okay. This isn't a terrible play. I certainly didn't want a Deputy of Detention yet, but it's not awful here. But especially with them having another Secret Keeper out there, I'm gonna attack, see if they block with the Secret Keeper. They probably will. But just in case they have a removal spell or something, I wanted to see if they would use a removal spell there. Oops. Oh man. I messed that up. Wow. Yeah, I did not play this turn very well. We certainly should have cast a Collected Company there and not done this. And then also we probably should have done that main phase 1 to get in 2 more points of damage. That was a pretty bad turn. Certainly pretty sloppy. Recasting Emery. Yeah. The fact also that they had an Emery in hand makes it even worse that we just did that. Yeah, it was just a really poorly sequenced, poorly set up turn last turn. But that's okay. We're going to hit. Yeah, we hit. So we're going to Reflector Mage the Emery and also put a Mantis Rider into play. So that was a very good Coco. As long as we can keep this Emery off the board, I feel like it's going to be tough for them. We're going to get in there with these two. I don't mind trading with the Smuggler's Copter. Might be bad for us because they might. Oh, they're going to discard another Emery probably. Yeah. So they probably have multiple Emerys, but they can't cast it still this turn because Reflector Mage is kind of an unreasonable card. Witch's Oven. And Secret Keeper. You can get 2 food tokens here. Alright. So now we're going to Coco. Again. And this time hit Vanillish Marshal and Mantis Rider. Seems pretty good. Very good Coco again. I don't think we need to kill the Witch's Oven. I don't know what it does exactly for them that's that good. Do they have Cauldron Familiar in there? I don't think they do. So I'm just going to get the Vanillish Marshal and just try and get them dead here. Because then we're also going to play this Hallowed Fountain untapped and cast Thalia's Lieutenant, pumping our team even more. Yeah, they're just going to scoop. Okay, so that was an opponent on a strange graveyard combo deck that didn't really get off the ground. But our deck did its thing, and we got to resolve a couple good Cocos and get there. Alright, hello and welcome to round 4. We are currently 1-2, but hoping to get that 3-2 here in this league. Had a couple unfortunate draws from our opponents in the first couple matches. Well played from our opponents as well. But we got there last match against our graveyard. Merfolk Secret Keeper Cauldron of the Eternities deck. Now this hand on the draw, it has multiple Smuggler's Copters and Reflector Mage. It's not exactly what we want. I'm going to ship it back. It's got some interaction, but we're going to keep this one because we have a 1-drop into a Copter, and we can just bottom a Mana Confluence. So we have all our lands that we're going to need. We have all our colors. We just need some more stuff now. Another land off the top, as it always is. As it always is. Alright, so we're going to lead with E1 into Smuggler's Copter. The good thing about all these lands in our hand is that we can loot them away to Smuggler's Copter. Looks like they're going to kill our E1 here. Oops. Oh. Got a hair in my eye. No, they're not going to kill our E1. Alright, blue-red. Alright, Phoenix then. And strategic planning hits 2 lands. Got it. Charming Prince. That's a good one. Yeah, we're going to name human again. The only thing we can't cast naming human with the second unclaimed territory here is Deputy of Detention in our deck. And there's a 1-of in our main deck. Pretty unlikely to find it next turn, and very unlikely that we'll want to cast it next turn. So it shouldn't end up hurting us. So we're going to play this guy first before we play our land or do anything, because we might hit a 1-drop. Definitely going to scry here. And he's going to find us 2 lands, which we're definitely putting to the bottom of our deck. Pretty much just drew 2 cards off that scry. It's likely that at least one of our creatures is going to die here. It could be a Lightning Axe Fiery Temper play, which would be very backbreaking here. And it looks like it is based on the fact that they're waiting. Yeah, it's a Lightning Axe Fiery Temper. Oh no, just a Lightning Axe. Discarding a Arclight Phoenix. Okay. So we're just going to play this tapped. And get in there for 2. When they have the Lightning Axe Fiery Temper, it's when it's really bad. But Lightning Axe discarding Phoenix, obviously also very good. Now they have the Fiery Temper. Ooh. I shouldn't have said anything. That's sick. They seem to always have it when I play against them too. They just always have it. I mean, they're playing 4 of both, so, you know, maybe they're just supposed to always have it. Treasure Cruise. Wow, it's a good turn 4. That's a really good turn 4. We're going to need some collected companies here. Dollar's Lieutenant plays. It is a non-land card, so that's cool. Fiery Temper. So much value off these Fiery Tempers. Does somebody have an enchantment here? Yeah, nobody has an enchantment. But I guess you can target a player to sack an enchantment even when they don't. We're just going to counter this and put a counter on our creature. It's not a great play. It's not like a crazy 2-for-1 or anything. They're just going to Wild Slash in response. Sure. But, I mean, we had the mana up. We're not doing anything else. We're going to do that. Try to keep our 1 creature alive. It at least got 2 spells out of their hand rather than just 1 to get rid of our creature there. Mantis Rider's a good draw. We're going to cast Mantis Rider here. Oops. Need to tap blue, and then red, and then white. Not as good as Collected Company, but certainly a good draw here. Since we do have card draw spells in our deck, we are going to play this Temple Garden. There's a little bit of a push and pull between Smuggler's Copter and Thraben Inspector. So if we draw a Smuggler's Copter, we'd obviously want extra lands in our hand so we can discard them to the Copter. But Thraben Inspector wants us to play our lands so that we can crack the clues and then also cast more spells or play more lands that turn so that our following draws of Thraben Inspectors are a little bit better. So it's kind of an interesting back and forth there. Going to 10. Alright. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Let's do it. Show me something good. Alright, Reflector Mage, Mantis Rider, Deputy of Detention. I think I'd rather play the Reflector Mage and the Mantis Rider here. The downside there is they can just like pay 3 and discard it and then put it back into play, but I think that's better than Deputy of D, which might just get killed and then they can still block our Mantis Riders like at instant speed. But that was a good hit. Very good hit on that Coco, and also a very good hit to draw the Coco. 4 cards in hand for our opponent. They discard their Arclight Phoenix, hoping to get it back into play, but we're not able to. But they're not scooping, so I assume that they have some sort of interaction spell for our Mantis Rider here. And we drew Benelish Marshal, which plays very well. They're gonna Wild Slash. It only deals 2. Another Wild Slash? Yeah. Alright, so they can chump. But it looks like we've got this one. They go to 1. They're gonna opt. I mean, I guess there's a world where they Treasure Cruise and then somehow bolt 3 things. Or not bolt, but like, yeah, there's the Treasure Cruise. So they need to get an Arclight Phoenix back, which is very easy to do from their position here. Because they've already opted. So if they have like Lightning Axe, Fiery Temper again, 3 mana, Anger of the Gods? Anger of the Gods would be sick. I don't think they main deck that though. Oh, they're just gonna scoop. Whew. They tapped 3 mana as if they had Anger of the Gods, and that would have wiped our board. But yeah, I didn't think they main decked Anger of the Gods. So this is our second Arclight blue-red matchup in this league. In the first one, we didn't quite get there in game 3. We drew 2 rips and kept that hand. Our opener had 2 Rest in Pieces. We kept that hand, and it ended up being a little too anemic. We just didn't quite have the closing power we needed with the Rest in Peace in play, and they ended up killing us on like turn 8 or 9 or something. So we do need that closing power this time, and that's going to be pretty important. We really want the Dromoka's commands to be able to interact with Thing in the Ice. I don't like Thraben Inspector very much in this matchup. I don't hate Smuggler's Copter, but I don't like it that much either. Like, it gets blocked by their Arclight Phoenixes pretty well. And that gives us some room for Deputy of Detention as well. They also have a Braid post board that deals with it either way that they want. And I think we want 2 Deputies on the draw. And we can up our curve a little bit on the draw too, because we have Knight of the White Orchid. And we're on the draw, so we're just gonna see more cards. So yeah, I think 2 Deputies of D. I don't know if we need 3, because we do want to keep the aggression up, and I think we really want all the Lords in order to close the game out once we swing the tide. I think in general, in these like sort of like pseudo aggro mirrors, it's definitely not an aggro mirror in a typical sense, but it definitely is sort of that, in that they're trying to aggressively put Arclight Phoenixes in their yard and get them into play and flip their things in the ice and like kind of kill us in a sort of a combo fashion, but like a pseudo controlling combo aggro deck. And we're trying to just get them dead by turn 5 while making sure that they can't kill us with that pseudo combo whatever. And in these mirrors, like, if you can hold your opponent at bay for long enough, it's not really a mirror obviously at all, but like I said, like in a pseudo mirror, you're trying to keep your opponent at bay while you try to do your thing. And if you're able to keep them at bay with some reflector mages and deputies, it's good. But if you're only attacking for 3 a turn after that, they're gonna have time to rebuild, to hit their treasure cruise, to hit more Arclight Phoenixes off the top or whatever, and just kind of get you dead. So that's how we lost round 1. In match 3, game 3, we just didn't find the closing power. We kind of flooded out with deputies and reflector mages that were good and slowed our opponent down, but we just couldn't close. So, with this hand, we actually have an interaction spell, a fast clock, and 2 1-drops. So we're definitely going to keep this. 2 interaction spells, really. Sulfur Falls tapped. I'll take it. Gonna pay 2. So they're not fully a burn deck, but they can play that way when they get their combo going. They can deal 13 in 1 turn with 2 Phoenixes in the yard and a thing in the ice that flips. So we are generally going to put ourselves to 13 by like turn 5 with all our shocklands and mana confluences, especially with this hand. So it's going to be a close game, I think, here. We do have a good hand, but their deck is just a pretty powerful deck. All right, that's awesome. We're just going to Dromoka's Command that on turn 2 here. This is why I really like Dromoka's Command is with the 1-drops. You just play that untapped, put a +1/+1 counter, and fight. And there's nothing they can do about this. That's just a dead Jace, and then they're taking 2. And this also has great utility in the late game against their burn spells and against their thing in the ices, everything. But yeah, we're just getting them pretty good here. Love this Dromoka's Command card. It's been definitely one of the better sideboard cards. We're even playing one in the main deck right now because of how good it's been in the sideboard. It's one of those cards that's like not quite good enough for Modern because you're playing Path to Exile, you're playing with Dismember, just a bunch of cards that just are more efficient mana-wise. But the versatility of Dromoka's Command is really good, and I'm tempted to try it in Modern now after having played with it so much in Pioneer. I think I'm actually learning a lot about things I might want to try in Modern after messing around in Pioneer with all sorts of cards that I haven't played with before or just haven't played with since they were in Standard. Definitely shedding some light on some interactions that maybe we overlooked in Modern because of our complacency of just like, oh no, that's not a good enough card for Modern, you know? Like Dromoka's Command. Like maybe it's not a good enough card for Modern, but I don't know. It's pretty powerful for 2 mana. You can do a lot of things with it. Our opponent is just hanging out over here. I'm not sure what was going on there. There we go. They chatting? Jace, and we have another Dromoka's Command, but this time we're not going to do it. This time we're just going to play Mantis Rider. So they have a 1-turn window to kill both our creatures and like get an Arclight into play, which is very possible for them. But if they don't, then if we get to untap with both of these creatures, or even one of these creatures, I think we're doing pretty well here. But like I was saying earlier, we are at 14 and they haven't attacked us yet. 3 Shocklands. Scouting Fiery Temper. Targeting the Mantis Rider, I would imagine. Yep. So I do really want to blow them out next turn. And in order to do that, we need to not cast the Dromoka's Command right now, which is risky, but I really want to blow them out here. So I'm going to pass the turn and let them try to flip Jace and then like fight it with the flip on the stack, which may or may not work out. But it depends on how they sequence their turn. They have seen the Dromoka's Command, I believe. So this might not work out for us, but we'll see. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it has a good moment. Probably we're going to cast it regardless, but we'll see what they do for their turn here. Discard Arclight Phoenix, okay. Make our dude a little smaller. Alright, oops, undo. I'm going to leave out the blue just in case they play around like Mystical Dispute or something. They have a Rending Volley. Now Rending Volley doesn't work. Lightning Axe does though. Lightning Axe. Yeah, we maybe should have waited with the Dromoka's Command. Got a bit hasty there. And paid the price, unfortunately. We do have an interaction spell for their Thing in the Ice, so that's good. But yeah, I pulled the trigger first. Generally, them who act first lose in the instant speed battles, and that's kind of what happened there. If they didn't have anything, then it was great, but if they did, it was kind of a 2-for-1, and we kind of got 2-for-1 there. Reflector Mage and Collected Company. I want to top both of these. And also cast Deputy. Wait, so they can recast. Yeah, I think we have to get the Jace. Since they only have 2 cards in hand, it's not that likely that they can flip their thing next turn. So I want to get the Jace. With the Deputy. It also flips it back down if they... So they have a Wild Slash, it looks like. I think they have a Wild Slash for the E1. So if they do flip their thing in the ice, we're not just dead. We have a Coco that's definitely going to hit a Reflector Mage, which is very good. So we're in pretty good shape here. And we're at 13, so we're only going to 6. Charted Course is a good way to flip their thing in the ice, though. It doesn't look like they have it. Or they're just going to do it on our turn, which also makes a lot of sense. So because they're not doing it, I'm just going to attack with these. Alright, now I just don't think they have it. And now I just don't think they have it, but now that we played this way, I think we have to like just keep passing and just like cast the Reflector Mage now. Yeah. I'm just gonna cast Reflector Mage. I don't think they have the spell. No, they do. Lightning Axe for 6, targeting Reflector Mage. Doesn't matter what they target, huh? Alright. I think we actually want to gain life here because they're sort of likely to flip some stuff. Yeah, we're just going to gain 3 life. Alright, that's cool that Reflector Mage still bounces the Awoken Horror even though it's flipped over. I wasn't sure that that was how that worked. Oh, but we bounced an Awoken Horror so they can cast Thing in the Ice. Interesting. That's also interesting how that works. Charted Course, yep. Two Arclight Phoenixes, pretty good. Looks like they can't get them back yet, though. So the safer play here is definitely to kill their Jace and bounce the thing in the ice. So let's just start with the safer play. We don't need to go for the Collected Company. We're at 15 here. Lightning Axe, discarding Island. I think we're just going to gain 3 life again. Because we just don't want to die. Our hand is great, and we're going to be able to win the game if we get a couple more turns. It's just about not dying at this point. Alright. Yeah, I think we just Coco now. Mantis Rider. Benelish Marshal. That's a pretty good one. We don't need a deputy anything. We can go at Jace and at them. Could have killed Jace, but... Uh-oh. So they hit off this opt and flip that. This could actually be bad for us. They can also chart a course with Jace, digging for more things. They're actually sort of likely to flip Thing in the Ice here. Not terribly likely with 3 mana left. Yeah, maybe not, but... Because they have to cast the spell off the Jace. It's not like it casts it for free. They're going to try to chorus. This is their second spell. So if they can just cast one more spell, they get 3 Phoenixes back. Found a land and a braid. So they get 3 Phoenixes back. We're going to deputy them, and they know that, but... Yeah, they're dead here, but... It was a good effort. They almost got us, even after our, like, commanding position there. Didn't have to cast it, I guess, because they swung out anyway. Loop. But pretty close match there. Pretty close couple of games. We were in a commanding position in most of game 2 there, but they almost came back. Maybe we were supposed to swing 2 things at Jace just to make sure. But the fact that we put them to 4 made it so that even with the Jace there, they weren't able to do enough. I'm not 100% on that attack. Because, yeah, it was pretty likely they were getting their Arclight Phoenixes back. And I just wanted to... I mean, we had the deputy in hand, and they knew about it. And it's very unlikely that they get the Arclight Phoenixes back there and also are able to, like, play an instant speed removal spell on our turn. But we've rallied back to 2-2. Hopefully we can win this last match and have a winning record for 4-color humans today. All right, welcome to round 5. We are currently 2-2 with 4-color humans. We lost to Arclight, we beat Arclight, we lost to Mono Blue, and we beat Graveyard, some sort of Emery deck with Stitcher Supplier and Merfolk Secret Keeper. Not exactly sure what they were doing, but playing Sanctum of Ugin and Metalwork Colossus and some sort of a Cauldron of the Eternities. It was an interesting deck, definitely. But we're going to keep this hand. We've got Smuggler's Copter and Charming Prince, which is a pretty good combo. Even though it doesn't seem like a combo on its surface. You get to scry and then loot. Not so much a combo as just like a build your own Ponder or Serum Visions, or what's the better one that's banned and everything? Preordain, yeah. I mean, Preordain not necessarily better than Ponder, but better with the scry. Yeah, it's a pretty good draw. Play this Temple Garden tapped, pass the turn here. Opponent Once Upon a Time 4, Winding Constrictor. Alright, so we're playing against Hardened Scales. Haven't played against this in a while. If any of y'all have been watching my stream, I do play quite a bit of Pioneer. And I actually haven't played against Winding Constrictors in a minute. It's been like at least a few days. Gonna name Human here and just play the Smuggler's Copter. A little worried about how this next turn might play out. We're gonna need to find some interaction for their creatures with counters on them. Yeah, Hangerback Walker being one of them. And Stonecoil Serpent being another one. The fact that Stonecoil Serpent has reach and also protection from multicolored is a problem. The protection from multicolored actually comes up a lot in this matchup for us because all our removal is multicolored, just like this Deputy of Detention. So it's a little awkward, but here I definitely think we want to Deputy the Hangerback Walker. The downside there is if they have a Walking Ballista in hand, then they just get to kill our Deputy and get back there. Well, Hangerback Walker comes back dead anyway. So I guess that's just a good choice. Yeah, we're going to play Mana Confluence, so we don't need to name Wizard with this because that doesn't cast Banish Marshal. We can discard this extra Smuggler's Copter, probably, to our first Smuggler's Copter, depending on what we draw, obviously. Reflector Mage, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, we can get rid of the other copter. The only hesitation I had there is that sometimes their ground pounders can get bigger than our things, and if they do, we're in trouble. Steel Overseer, alright, that's okay. Walking Ballista, also okay. Oh, sorry about that. We've got Reflector Mage, which is what we want to do here, but I think we have to bounce the Steel Overseer. Potentially we're supposed to attack with Smuggler's Copter first, but we are at 13, and this is threatening to be pretty good here. They only have one card in hand, So I kind of want to see what we draw first. Before we make the decision to Reflector Mage, we're very likely going to, because we kind of have to. But if we hit like a Dromoka's command, we may want to play this turn differently. Experiment 1. That allows us to double spell this turn, which is also very useful. Gets a counter off their Walking Ballista, also very useful. And at the moment, I think that Thalia's Lieutenant is probably, well, either that or Banalish Marshal is not what we want here, although that Banalish Marshal pumps 2 of our other creatures, whereas Lieutenant does not. So I'm gonna discard Lieutenant here, because we want a 5th land. Yeah, we have some interesting decisions this game. And we're going to name Human with the Unclaimed Territory. Play the Experiment 1. And then Reflector Mage. Bounce the Steel Overseer. And they decided not to use the Ballista there. So it's 12-12 here. We have decent blocks at the moment. Karn's Bastion. Oh, goodness. That's really good. Okay, I didn't expect that. That's really good. Alright. That's problematic for sure. I did not expect them to have 2 4/4s this turn. I expected them just to pump the Walking Ballista and have a 4/4 Walking Ballista. I really wasn't banking on them having Karn's Bastion there. Pretty rough. Reach and Trample and protection from multicolored. That is going to be really hard to beat. Yeah, this thing being protected from multicolored actually hoses us really good. Our only interaction is Reflector Mage, Deputy, and Dromoka's Command, all of which are multicolored. We literally have no way to interact with that card once it's a 4/4 now. I mean, we can just attack with a 4/4 Smuggler's Copter, so that's probably the move here. Let's do that first. Another Charming Prince. We certainly don't need another Charming Prince, I don't think. Maybe it's better than Mantis Rider against that Stonecoil Serpent, though. We can just keep blinking Reflector Mage. Yeah, so this is one of the cool things that Charming Prince can do, is we can now blink Reflector Mage, which blinks their Walking Ballista. Hey, Rue. They're just gonna hit me for 1 and then let it get bounced probably. Now they're just gonna deal me 2. Alright, sweet. Great. Well, we killed their Walking Ballista with that Charming Prince, so that's pretty good. One of the great things about Charming Prince is, yeah, we can blink our Reflector Mage and do it again. So Charming Prince was actually better than the the Mantis Rider there. That's really good though. Now again we have no attacks. Like we can blink Reflector Mage again, get that Steel Overseer off the board. But we can't attack with Smuggler's Copter really. So, I mean, let's see. They're at 8. Yeah, we can't quite do it. Can't quite do it here. Our only play is to bounce the Steel Overseer, and then they're just gonna make bigger dudes and have an 0-1 proliferate, have a 6-7 and an 8-8 trample. I think that's their only play though. I mean, we can blink the Deputy, and the Deputy can get the Nissa or the Winding Constrictor. Or the Steel Overseer, I guess. Yeah, I guess we do want to blink the Deputy, because their Hangerback just dies anyway. And this like permanently removes their thing rather than just bounce it. Maybe it's better to get the Winding Constrictor. So if we get the Winding Constrictor, they can put a counter on all their artifact creatures. I think we want to get Winding Constrictor. So they just make a plant token and proliferate here probably. Interesting game. They're at 8. If we draw another creature, I think we can potentially win. If it's a Lord. It's not a creature. Or a Lord. Huh. So they have a 4/4, which blocks all their things really well. Yeah, we just have to pass the turn, which is awful because they're gaining advantage while we pass the turn, and we're losing advantage on each pass of the turn here. We needed a decent top deck right there. Any creature would have been fine, but we really want like a Collected Company or Lord. Or both. Because now they're going to just like, their creatures are just getting bigger and bigger. Their Nissa is getting more counters. Eventually we lose. It's an interesting deck, Hardened Scales, because it's one where they can very easily just take over the game if you whiff for a turn or two. Like once they establish like stability you can just get got. That's pretty good. But we can't attack yet. We can attack next turn. But yeah, they're gonna have a 10/10 Stonecoil Serpent here. Starting to get to the point where we can't even block it with enough things to not die. They're just making chump blockers. So if we hit a Coco that hits like a Lord and a Mantis Rider, we could just win all on the spot here. That is certainly not a Coco though. So we're gonna crew both of these with this. And with this, I guess. Get a little draw 2, discard 2. We need to hit another flyer. It looks like they've found a Fatal Push. Alright, well then we're not attacking, I guess. Another Fatal Push? Whoa. Alright, well, we towed up to the line, we inched right up to it, and we weren't able to cross. And each turn this goes on, we get further and further away. They build up their defenses bigger and bigger, and it gets harder and harder for us to get through this. Now they can probably just attack with Stonecoil Serpent. Maybe not yet. Alright. So let's do this. Draw a card. So this is the back and forth between Smuggler's Copter and Thraben Inspector. We didn't want to play our land last turn because of Smuggler's Copter, but we probably should have played the Temple Garden. Oof. Alright. Well, this isn't doing it, but at least that was a redraw. The cool thing about Thraben Inspector is we're on turn 10, and it was a pretty good top deck because it found us another card. Wait, gain 7 life. Draw X cards. Oh jeez. Yeah, we're dead. So if they activate Nissa's ultimate here, we're just dead. And yeah, I'm gonna just scoop to that. There's just no way we can beat that. Alright. Just gotta make sure our opponent knows that their cards do those things. We just drew so many lands towards the end of the game there. And we didn't have a collected company in the top 26 cards of our library. And that happens sometimes. Alright, so Pithing Needle is pretty good on Walking Ballista and Nissa. And Steel Overseer. Knight of Autumn is very good. Dromoka's Command, very good. Deputy of Detention, very good. We're on the play here. Selfless Spirit just being a flyer isn't terrible, but has a bad body. Ooh. Yeah, I gotta move my car. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, I'll be right down. Yeah, we're gonna cut those. We need all our flyers, but we're gonna submit this. This is yeah, that's what we're gonna want. I think maybe like drop a lieutenant for a Benelish Marshal, just to even out the numbers a little bit. And we're gonna submit that. I'll be right back though. I just need to move my car. Here we go. Game 2 against Hardened Scales, and we've got a good draw. It doesn't have interaction, but it has a collected company, which is hopefully going to find us some interaction. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, so we're certainly going to keep this. One downside about this hand is it doesn't have a blue source. But we do have a turn 1 green source with no mana, no damage, which is nice. Stonecoil Serpent, no. Stonecoil Serpent from our opponent here. That one is a tough one, but currently we don't have any multicolored creatures or spells in hand. Winding Constrictor. Definitely going to Benelish Marshal here, which is going to evolve and pump our Experiment 1. And then also pump our Smuggler's Copter. So we're getting in for a lot here. Certainly want the blue source more than the green. That's great. Great draw. They're at 11. They do have Stonecoil Serpent. That's going to be a 4/4 next turn. But it trades with our Smuggler's Copter, and that's fine. And they played a Ruins of Oran Reef. Alright, so maybe we can just kill them this turn with a good Coco. You're going to play a 2/2 Stonecoil? Okay, just a 3/3, never mind. Alright, so a good Coco can kill them here. Let's go for a good Coco here. Reflector Mage plays, Lolly's Lieutenant certainly plays. That's what we're gonna do. That's a good Coco. Oh, I put them on the stack wrong. Yeah, they're just gonna scoop. Alright, sweet. So that was a good Coco. We got them on turn 4. I did stack that wrong though. We were supposed to make sure the Experiment 1 evolved first and then the counter went on it from the Thali's Lieutenant, but I was just kind of clicking at random because it didn't quite matter with the state of things there. But yeah, we should have stacked it correctly so that the Experiment 1 was gonna get 2 +1/+1 counters on it that turn. It's kind of cool that like a Reflector Mage that's pumped actually from the Benelish Marshal will evolve your Experiment 1 if you stack the triggers correctly with the Lieutenant. But in general, if you just cast a Reflector Mage into a 3/3 E1 with a Benelish Marshal in play, it will evolve, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna be on the draw for game 3. We're going to bring in Knight of the White Orchid. We're also going to trim maybe a Smuggler's Copter on the draw. The flyers are good, but the Stonecoil Serpent is rough. Yeah, we have no interaction for Stonecoil Serpent. That might be a reason to consider maybe like Reclamation Sage or I don't know, maybe a disenchant effect of some sort rather than Knight of Autumn, because with Knight of Autumn we just we just can't kill it with Reflector Mage and Deputy. We just can't kill Stonecoil Serpent. So that is actually like their best card against us, strangely. It's like one of the kind of dorkiest cards in their deck. I mean, it's a good card in a Counters Matter deck, but it just happens to be very good against us. We're on the draw here, so I think we can trim one more 2-drop. I think I'm just going to trim another Copter, even though Copter is good in the matchup. I want my curve to be nice, and I don't want to subtract any removal or interaction. I mean, any removal or speed for the Smuggler's Copters. Yeah, it's a keep. We've got all our colors, we've got removal, we've got interaction. It's not a super exciting hand, I guess, but it just plays Magic. They have the turn 1 scales. Planes. The 5th land was not what we wanted, but we have all our colors. We can scry with the Charming Prince here. If they don't get too far ahead in the first couple of turns, we can still probably do okay. That's a huge issue. Turn 2, 3/3 Stonecoil Serpent is going to be really hard to beat. So what I was saying is Stonecoil Serpent is the best card against us for their deck. So this is going to be very difficult. We need like a very fast draw to get around that. Certainly don't want the land. Deputy, we can like just take care of all their other stuff with all these deputies, but yeah, I mean, I think we want the Deputy here. Target creature you don't control. Yeah, it's not going to work. So Jamoka's Command just doesn't work. Deputy just doesn't work. So that Stonecoil Serpent is a huge issue. Not another one. Not another one. Steel Overseer. Alright, we can beat that. They might have a Fatal Push here. This is risky. If they have the Fatal Push, we were got either way though. Yeah, they had us coming and going with the Fatal Push, because if we tried to Jamoka's Command there, they Fatal Push in response. If we have the Deputy Detention there and they have the Fatal Push, it's turned on so they can kill the Deputy. So yeah, they had us any which way with the Fatal Push here, and they did have it, in fact. So that's probably game. Very unfortunate. Oh, maybe not. Alright. I mean, that 5/5 Stonecoil Serpent is still a gigantic issue, and if their hand still has another Fatal Push, then we're just totally, absolutely dead. But we can at least chump block. Oh, that thing has Trample. That thing has Trample. Oh man, and they played their Overgrown Tomb untapped, huh? Yeah, that thing has Trample and protection from our deck, so it's kind of tough. But we do have another Deputy here. We're just taking too much damage from that Stonecoil. So yeah, it's not looking good for the home team here. Opponent had a very good draw for game 3. Yeah. And that's game. Alright. that is game over. So we overall went 2-3. Not a fantastic result here, but I do think this deck is pretty powerful. You can swap the Dramoka's Command in the main deck and the Deputy of Detention in the main deck for 2 main deck Kythians if you want to go a little bit underneath some of the combo decks, a little bit more underneath them. I like all the choices that we made, really. We just kind of got like I was saying, Stonecoil Serpent, the best card out of their deck against us, and they had it on turn 2 as a 3/3 and then made it a 5/5 on turn 3 or whatever. So like it was just unfortunate set of draws there for our opponent. They had like Abrupt Decay and Fatal Push and the Stonecoil Serpent, and there's just not that many draws that we can beat them when they have that hand with. But the deck is definitely very powerful. We can certainly beat all of the decks that we lost to. We lost to Blue-Red Phoenix, and then we beat Blue-Red Phoenix fairly decisively in the next match we played against them, so it's certainly a match we can win. We can go fast and underneath them, and we can also go over the top of them with Collected Companies and Reflector Mages on their Things in the Ice and their Arclight Phoenixes. But obviously they can have draws with Lightning Axe, Fiery Temper, which is a very powerful combination of 2 cards that are just 2 Terminates for 2 mana. And yeah, I mean, their deck is very good. Treasure Cruise is very good. It's up there on the things that might get banned. We also lost to Mono Blue pretty decisively, but I've beaten Mono Blue quite a few times as well. They just had triple unsummon in that last game, which was pretty tough, or maybe double unsummon, Harbinger of Tides. So they just like tempoed us out. We had a very good draw in game 2, but game 1 we just kind of flooded out, if I remember correctly. We also whiffed completely on a Collected Company at some point in one of those first 2 matches. So sometimes you get unlucky and you're not going to be able to win much. This deck does deal a lot of damage to itself with the mana base, so burn can be a tough matchup. So I'm not 100% sold on this deck moving forward, but it is certainly powerful. Someone else, actually, there was a deck dump today on the mothership of Pioneer League decks, and somebody played my exact 75 from the first deck dump, which was very similar to this deck here, had just 2 Kythians instead of these 2 cards, and they also got a 5-0 today, or a couple days ago, or whenever it would have been. So that's cool to see somebody else trying out my deck and doing well with it. It certainly is a player in this metagame. I do think it could use a little bit more tuning, and maybe we can try and go into a 5th color at some point. If you have been watching my stream, you might have been seeing me trying that already, but maybe for the next one we'll try the 5th color and see how that goes. But thanks so much for hanging out. This has been Kevin Poncelet, K-Ponce MTG, Pioneer with Poncelet on TCGplayer, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.